Today we are very fortunate to have a special guest come to visit us at Tabernacle Elementary School. Mr. Dunlea and Mrs. Delaney's class is so happy to welcome Dr. Amy Williams back to where she actually went to school. Dr. Williams is a coastal ecologist who is here to help us with our Global Climate Action Project. So we can't wait to get some questions that the students have for you that maybe you can help us become better experts on global climate change.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so excited to be back at Tabernacle Schools. I went through this whole school district. My parents still live here in Tabernacle, and I now am a resident of Long Beach Island, which is right on the coast. So I experience this not only every day, but I also work at Stevens Institute of Technology, and I'm a coastal extension agent for New Jersey Sea Grant. So I also do this as my profession.
And what was your affiliation with the Alliance for a Living Ocean?
So about September of 2012, I was asked to be president of Alliance for Living Ocean. I'd been on their board and a volunteer for them for about 3 years. And I became president, and then about a month or so later, Hurricane Sandy hit. So I was president during a very important time of our organization's lifespan, and we got to get involved with a lot of great organizations, including START, the Stafford Teachers, and residents together. Which is where I got to meet you.
Yes. And then I have since become a member of the Alliance for Living Ocean. I'm currently the acting president of Alliance for Living Ocean. So thankfully it's through that we've been able to kind of connect and bring in an expert for us to share with the students. So I think what we'll do is we'll quickly bring in some of our students who have a lot of questions that they came up with themselves. We are part of a global project that involves 69 countries and over 250 schools. So it's very exciting. Even the Dalai Lama and Jane Goodall have been actually tweeting about this. So it's pretty, and Celine Cousteau is going to be involved in it as well. So without any further ado, I think we'll go to the student experts who are going to come up and bring their questions for you.
Wonderful.
My name is Emma. My first question is, why are we seeing more sea creatures than we used to?
Hi Emma, nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Amy, and that is a great question. So we see a lot of sea creatures right now because they are growing in our ocean, and our ocean is changing. Sometimes it's getting colder, sometimes it's getting warmer, and as the ocean moves around, we see more sea creatures coming to different areas where they never used to be before. Some things we might see up here in New Jersey that we've never seen before are things like butterfly fish that are usually down in the Florida warm waters near reefs, but they follow along the Gulf Stream and they end up coming up to areas that are warmer. Do you have any more questions for me?
Why are we seeing more dolphins?
We see more dolphins for a similar reason. As the water gets warmer, they get to come up and stay in this area. Dolphins move all around the coast. They live some places in the winter and they live some places in the summer because they don't like to be really cold. So when we have areas that are getting warmer, we'll see more dolphins in those locations. Have you ever seen a dolphin on the beach?
I've seen one jump out of the water far away.
That is so neat.
So why are we seeing more jellyfish?
So we have certain types of jellyfish we've been seeing in New Jersey. Some we see in the bay areas. They're called sea nettles. And a lot of times we're seeing them because they end up being able to grow more because there's more nutrients that are running off of the areas that are nearby. So if you have a big rainstorm and the water runs down the street and gets in the bay, it'll add nutrients to the environment. So it's basically more food for them. And so you'll see more jellyfish.
My Grammy has a shore house right by the bay, and sometimes we see little dead jellyfish just along the shore.
Yeah, sometimes you do see the dead jellyfish. So there's the clear ones, they're kind of like this. They're called moon jellies. They actually don't sting, and you do see them wash up on the beaches a lot. And the sea nettles are the ones that have the red tentacles, and they do sting, so you don't want to touch them.
I've never seen those before.
Oh, you're lucky. I saw them last week at the beach, and I didn't want to go in the water because I didn't want to get stung. We also have seen, especially, I just heard you were in Ship Bottom, we saw some jellyfish on Long Beach Island this summer. They are called Portuguese man-o'-wars or blue bottles, and they have this blue top on them. They, again, like those butterfly fish, usually are in warmer waters, but they're coming up here more often because our water is getting warmer.
And why are the crabs dying?
So there are certain types of crabs. There's lots of crabs that live in the bay and the oceans. And of course we don't like to get pinched by them, but they're very important to our ecosystem. Some of them may be dying because they can't find enough food, or they might not be able to protect themselves from the new predators that come in. So predators, things that might eat them. You also, I'm not sure which types of crabs are being asked about in this question, but we do see a lot of horseshoe crabs right now on the beaches. We walk a lot on the beaches. I take my dog on there. We see a lot of horseshoe crabs, and they're actually not dead horseshoe crabs. It's pretty surprising. Horseshoe crabs have exoskeletons and they have to molt. So you see a skeleton, but it's actually just their shell, and the crab has shed it, and now they're growing a new shell, and they're not dead. They just left their skin behind.
My mom was teaching me and my sister how to paddleboard one day, and we saw like two horseshoe crabs just crawling along the water.
They're really neat. I love paddleboarding. That's so fun. That's it. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for asking your questions. Hope to see you again soon.
Hi, my name is Ethan, and my first question is, why is the water getting warmer?
Hi, Ethan. Nice to meet you. Well, we have a lot of things that are going on that are making our water warmer. I've heard you've been talking about climate change for the last 3 weeks, so you probably know some of the details behind it. But our water is getting warmer because our Earth is out of balance. And when our Earth gets out of balance, things have to start changing. One of the things that's happening with climate change is we have had a lot of different chemicals placed into our atmosphere. So things based on our fossil fuels and our industries have caused our atmosphere to heat up, which has allowed our water to be able to absorb more and more heat throughout time. Sunlight can get it through more, and we can get more warm water, which makes our temperatures of our oceans rise. And the thing is when our temperature of the ocean rises, a lot of animals can't live in a hotter environment. It's like if you sat in this classroom and someone all of a sudden turned it up to 90 degrees in here, we wouldn't be very happy, and neither are the animals. So a lot of it has to do with environmental pollution and those effects that happen when we put our Earth off balance. Do you have another question? Okay.
Is the salt level rising?
So we have different salt levels in all of our bodies of water. We have our ocean that is really salty. Have you ever swallowed water from the ocean or gotten in your eyes? Our oceans are really salty. We also have areas such as bays that are more middle of the ground, such as they're called brackish waters, and they may also be salty but not as salty. And then yes, we have our freshwater areas like lakes that are filled with rainwater that we can actually maybe drink out of if they're clean enough. So we have different areas, and some places might be getting saltier, and we get our salt in our oceans from our land. If water runs off our land and goes into our bays, it brings all of the things that are on our land, such as our soil, our rocks, our pollution, it brings them in and can make them saltier. However, we also may actually be seeing areas that are getting less salty because we have areas that have melting sea ice. So the glaciers, as they melt, fresh water gets into our oceans and might cause those areas to be fresher or less salty. So it depends on where you're talking about. Some places are getting saltier and some are getting less salty. So you have to think about the whole system and look at the different places individually when you ask that question. Basically, my overall answer is our water is changing.
Are chemicals in the water now?
There are chemicals in the water. Unfortunately, chemicals that are on our landscape sometimes get washed into the water. The way that we get chemicals on our land that wash into the water is things like our cars, factories. We also have litter. One of the biggest problems for adding different types of nutrients to the water or chemicals to the water is actually when dogs go to the bathroom and people don't clean up after them. There's a river up in North Jersey that has that as a big issue. We also have different types of structures such as our infrastructure, like our sewage systems that sometimes break down and don't get fixed over time, and that adds chemicals to the water. And you also can get chemicals in the water because you end up having different types of runoff from those major storms. When we have a bigger storm or we have a big rainstorm, that can put more chemicals in the water. So yes, we definitely see a lot more chemicals in the water now.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Ethan.
Hi, my name is Vivian. My first question is, why are there more hurricanes?
That's a really great question. I get asked that a lot, and often people think that there are a lot more hurricanes, but really what the science shows is there are a lot more intense hurricanes, so stronger hurricanes happening. So we always get hurricanes every year, but things that are happening is, first of all, more of them are making landfall than normal, so it seems like there's more of them. We also have social media, which when you see hurricanes coming on Facebook or you watch videos on YouTube, it seems like there's more of them. And we also end up experiencing more impacts from them, so they seem bigger. So maybe not the number of hurricanes is increasing, but the strength of them and the damage that they cause. We have a lot more people living along the coastlines than ever, and so we have more damage from them, like houses being destroyed and flooding and destruction of our dune systems. So they're more intense right now because our climate change is happening and we're getting more warm water that's causing more fuel. So hurricanes, they are created because they get fueled by warm water underneath them, down by the tropics, near the equator, and then they come up our coast and somewhere they make landfall. And they're getting more of that energy, so they're more stronger than any time in our history.
I have another question. Why is it staying warmer longer?
You guys have some very intricate and tough questions, but it is staying warmer longer because, as we've seen with climate change, most of your scientists that study this stuff, about 97%, believe that we are having an input of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, and it's coming from human causes such as our factories, our cars, burning fossil fuels. So those chemicals, the carbon dioxide, they're called climate gases that go in our atmosphere, and what they do is they absorb all the heat that's coming from our Earth's surface and they trap it in our atmosphere. So it's like having extra blankets on you. If you were sitting in a room and you turned off the heater, but you had 4 blankets on you, you're going to stay warmer longer, right? And that's what's happening in our atmosphere. We're having this blanket chemicals in our air. Thank you so much, Vivian, for asking me those questions today.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Vivian.
Hi, I'm Logan. So my first question, what can we do to make the oceans better?
We have to work together to make the oceans better. One of the things that you're doing right now is working with a whole bunch of different countries around the world to talk about climate change and why our oceans are not as healthy as they could be. So working together is one way to make the oceans cleaner and better. Another thing to do is, when you get older, you can elect politicians that will make our oceans a priority. But as you are in 2nd grade right now, there are some things that you personally can do and all your friends can do. When you go to the beach, you don't want to pollute in the oceans. One of the bad things for oceans is plastics. And all the little plastics get broken down and fish eat them, it gets in their bellies, and then a lot of them, not only the fish, but the birds that eat the fish, they end up dying from it. So you want to always clean up the beaches when you leave. You only want to take pictures and you only want to leave footprints so you don't end up causing more plastics or any other debris to go into the water. Also, another really bad thing for the oceans is balloons. A lot of beaches are banning balloons being released at the ocean. I'm sure you've seen a lot of videos where turtles end up mistaking them for food. They don't go out like jellyfish. So stopping releasing balloons into the water is another way. There's also some things you might be able to tell maybe your parents to do. If you live near a beach, one of the things that gets into our waterways is fertilizers and insecticides and pesticides that people put on their lawns. When we put them out on the lawns, if it rains right after we put them out, all of those chemicals get washed right into the ocean or the bay or whatever water body we're near. So you may be able to tell your parents, you know, we're gonna make our grass green, but let's make sure that it's not gonna rain right after. Maybe make sure that it's a sunny day and you won't have rain for 2 or 3 days so that those chemicals can sink into the grass in the places they're needed and not go into the water. So there's little things that we can do every single day to help out our oceans. And then we also are just going to have to work together. It's a big issue, but learning about it now is what's going to make it a priority for everyone that is young and can do something about it in the future.
What can we do to help reverse climate change?
Climate change is a huge issue, and pretty much similar things because the ocean is very much part of climate change. Things that I mentioned before, like electing someone that cares about climate change and trying to work together as a whole entire world to make differences is going to happen. But specifically what you can do is you can try to decrease any types of single-use plastics. So if you always drink out of water bottles, get renewable water bottles or reusable water bottles, because those things are created by going into a factory and using a lot of gas and oil to create them, and that creates a lot of chemicals being released in our atmosphere. So we can make different choices and different purchases. If you go to a store, maybe you buy something different, or you also can recycle after you buy stuff. And then other things that you can do for climate change is buy fuel-efficient cars. You're too young to drive, right? I know, but well, I mean, we drive with our parents all the time, and maybe you can look at a better car. Or you can also try and walk a little bit more and ride your bike. So while this is going to be a big issue that your politicians, your teachers, and a lot of experts are going to be working on, you can make small changes in your life to just think about what you're doing to the earth and appreciate it, and not try and hurt it anymore. Thank you, Logan.